I missed my exam to help her.
Because of you, my wife is safe. This is for your future.
You are our hero, thank you. A full scholarship, oh my God!
You deserve it.
Poor student missed her exam to help a billionaire's wife. Then a helicopter landed at her home, and what happened next shocked everyone. Every morning, Maya Johnson, a poor student from a forgotten neighborhood, carried one dream in her worn backpack: pass the exam that could change her family's life forever. That day was supposed to be her escape from overdue rent, empty cupboards, and the quiet shame of poverty. But on the road to the testing center, Maya saw a terrible accident. A bleeding woman lay trapped while strangers stared, afraid to get involved. Maya did not know the woman was Grace Whitmore, the wife of billionaire Richard Whitmore. She only knew someone was dying. So Maya made a choice. She missed her exam to help the billionaire's wife, giving up the opportunity her whole family had prayed for. When she returned home, there was no celebration, no mercy, only disappointment and silence. Then everything changed. Days later, while Maya sat outside her small house wondering if kindness had destroyed her future, the sky began to thunder. Neighbors rushed outside as a helicopter landed at her home. And stepping out of it was the billionaire himself, holding a truth that would shock everyone who had ever looked down on her. The neighborhood froze. Children stopped chasing one another through the dusty street. Mrs. Turner, who lived 3 houses down and knew everyone's business before breakfast, dropped the basket of laundry she had been carrying. 2 boys on bicycles leaned so far over their handlebars that one nearly fell. Even the stray dog that usually barked at everything simply stood there, staring at the helicopter as its spinning blades pushed waves of air across the cracked pavement. Maya sat on the front step of her family's little blue house, her knees drawn close to her chest, her worn backpack beside her. The house had once been bright, her mother said, painted the color of summer sky. But years of sun, rain, and struggle had faded it into a tired, peeling blue that matched how Maya felt inside. She had not spoken much in 3 days. Not since the exam. Not since the testing center doors had closed in her face. Not since she had watched the future she had studied for, prayed for, and sacrificed sleep for disappear, because she had stopped to help a stranger. Her mother, Denise Johnson, stood in the doorway behind her, one hand pressed to her chest. Denise was a nursing assistant at a retirement home, a woman who worked double shifts and still somehow came home to cook, clean, encourage, and worry. But since Maya had missed the exam, disappointment had settled over her like a shadow she could not shake. Maya's younger brother, Caleb, peeked through the window curtain. He was 10, thin, bright-eyed, and usually full of questions. Now he was silent. The helicopters settled in the empty lot across from their house, the same lot where kids played football with a half-flat ball and where neighbors held cookouts when someone managed to buy enough meat for everyone. The engine slowed. The blades kept turning, but softer now, like the neighborhood was holding its breath. The door opened. A tall man stepped out in a dark suit. Even before anyone said his name, people knew he was important. It was in the way he moved, in the way the 2 men behind him watched the crowd, in the way the helicopters seemed to belong to him, the way a bicycle belonged to a child. Richard Whitmore. Maya knew his face from television, magazine covers, and the business section of newspapers she found at the library. He owned hospitals, hotels, technology companies, and buildings that looked like they touched the clouds. People said he could buy entire blocks without noticing the cost. People said his time was worth more than most people's houses. Now he was walking toward Maya's porch. Maya stood slowly. Her legs felt weak. Her first thought was that she had done something wrong. Maybe the woman she helped had died. Maybe someone blamed her. Maybe the police had finally connected her to the accident and wanted a statement. Her mouth went dry. Richard stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. For a moment, he did not speak. Up close, he did not look like the cold billionaire people argued about on television. He looked tired. His face was pale. His eyes were red, as though he had not slept. "Are you Maya Johnson?" he asked. Maya swallowed. "Yes, sir." Denise stepped out behind her. What is this about? Richard looked from Maya to her mother, then back again. His voice softened. My name is Richard Whitmore, he said. 3 days ago, my wife was in an accident on East Monroe Road. Maya's fingers tightened around the strap of her backpack. The street went completely still. Richard continued. Witnesses said people stood around, but one young woman climbed into the wreckage, called for help, kept my wife awake, and stayed with her until the ambulance arrived. Maya looked down. She could still hear Grace's weak voice in her memory. Stay with me. I'm here, Maya had said. I'm not leaving. Richard took one step closer. My wife is alive because of you. A gasp traveled through the crowd. Denise covered her mouth. Caleb opened the door and stepped outside, eyes wide. Maya stared at Richard as though his words had come from another world. She's alive, Maya whispered. Richard's face changed. Something broke open in it. Yes, she's alive, she's recovering, and the first thing she asked when she could speak clearly was, where is the girl with the blue backpack? Maya looked at the backpack by her feet. The zipper was broken. One strap had been sewn twice. A small keychain shaped like a yellow star hung from the side. Her father had given it to her before he died, telling her that even on dark days, she needed to carry her own little piece of light. Richard noticed it too. My wife doesn't remember everything, he said, but she remembers your voice. She remembers you telling her to keep breathing. She remembers that you were supposed to take an exam. Maya's eyes filled. She turned slightly, unable to look at her mother. Denise's face crumpled. For 3 days, Denise had tried not to blame her daughter. She knew Maya had done something good. She knew it in the way a mother knows the heart of the child she raised. But poverty can make even goodness feel expensive. That exam had been more than a test. It had been a door, a scholarship exam, a chance at a private college prep program, college funding, and a path away from the endless cycle that had trapped their family for years. And Maya had missed it. At first, Denise had not shouted. She had only asked, couldn't someone else have helped? The question had hurt Maya more than shouting would have. Because Maya had asked herself the same thing every hour since. Couldn't someone else have helped? But no one had. Only her. Richard reached into the inside pocket of his suit and removed an envelope. I know what it cost you, he said. At least I know part of it. Maya shook her head quickly. Sir, I didn't help her because of who she was. I didn't know. I just saw someone who needed help. I know, Richard said. That is exactly why I came myself. Behind him, one of his assistants held a tablet. Another man stood near the helicopter, speaking quietly into a phone, but Richard's attention never left Maya. Mrs. Johnson, he said, turning to Denise, may I speak with your family inside? Denise looked around at the staring neighbors, then stepped aside. Yes, of course. Maya picked up her backpack, still trembling, and followed them in. Their living room was small, with a brown couch that sagged in the middle, a coffee table with scratches across the top, and family photos on the wall. There was one of Maya at 8 years old, missing her 2 front teeth and holding a spelling bee trophy. Another showed Caleb as a baby in their father's arms. The largest photo was of Marcus Johnson, Maya's father, smiling in his mechanic's uniform, his hand resting proudly on Maya's shoulder. Richard noticed the photo. Denise saw him looking. My husband, she said quietly, he passed 6 years ago. I'm sorry, Richard said. Denise nodded. Maya, been trying to make him proud ever since. Maya sat on the edge of the couch, wishing she could disappear and wishing this moment would never end, all at once. Richard sat across from her. He did not act disgusted by the small room or the peeling ceiling or the fan that rattled when it turned. If he noticed the overdue electricity notice on the counter, he was polite enough not to show it. My wife wanted to come, he said. The doctors refused. She made me promise to tell you something. Maya looked up. Richard opened the envelope and pulled out a folded piece of paper. His hand shook slightly as he read. "Dear Maya," he began, his voice low. "I do not remember the sound of the crash clearly. I do not remember the faces of the people standing nearby. But I remember you. I remember your hand holding mine. I remember you telling me that my life mattered, even though you did not know my name. My husband says you missed an exam because of me. I cannot give you that moment back, but I can spend the rest of my life making sure your kindness is not punished. You saved me before you knew I was rich. Now let me stand up for you before the world knows you are extraordinary." Maya pressed both hands over her mouth. Denise began to cry. Caleb leaned against his mother, confused but moved by the sight of adults breaking open with emotion. Richard folded the letter carefully. "That is from Grace," he said, "and this is from me." He placed another document on the coffee table. Maya did not touch it. "What is it?" Denise asked. "A written request to the exam board," Richard said. "My legal team has already contacted them. We have given them the police report, hospital records, ambulance records, and witness statements. Maya missed the exam because she was providing emergency aid during a life-threatening situation. We are asking them to grant her a special examination." Maya's heart jumped. Denise blinked. "Can they do that?" "They can," Richard said. "Whether they will is another question." The hope in Maya's chest flickered. Richard noticed. "I don't want to promise what is not mine to promise," he said, "but I have also contacted the director of the scholarship program. They are reviewing her case today." "Today?" Maya whispered. "Yes." Denise sank into a chair as though her knees could no longer hold her. "I thought it was over." "So did I," Maya said. Richard looked at her. "Why didn't you leave my wife with someone else and go to your exam?" Maya's eyes dropped. For 3 days, people had asked that question in different ways. Her mother had asked with pain, a neighbor had asked with judgment, her own mind had asked with anger. But Richard asked as though he truly wanted to understand. "There was no one else," Maya said. "People were calling, recording, yelling. A few tried to help, but they were scared. She kept fading in and out. I thought if I left, she might think no one cared whether she lived or not." Richard looked down at his hands. Maya continued, "My dad died before the ambulance got to him. It was different, but..." Her voice shook. "He was alone for a while. I always hated thinking about that. I didn't want her to feel alone." Denise turned toward her daughter sharply. She had not known that was why. Maya wiped her eyes. "I thought I could still make it. I thought the ambulance would come fast. I thought I could run. But by the time they let me go, traffic was blocked, the bus was late, and when I got to the center, she stopped." The memory returned with cruel sharpness. The glass doors. The security guard. The clock above the lobby. The woman at the desk saying, "I'm sorry, registration closed 30 minutes ago. No exceptions." No exceptions. Those 2 words had sounded like a prison door. "I begged," Maya said. "I told them someone was hurt. I showed them the hospital bracelet they had put on my wrist by mistake while checking me for injuries. They still said no." Richard's jaw tightened. Denise looked ashamed. "Maya, why didn't you tell me that part?" "You were already upset," Maya said softly. Denise reached for her hand. "Baby." Maya let her mother hold it. For the first time in 3 days, the silence between them cracked. Richard stood. "There is something else." Maya looked up. "My wife and I have a foundation," he said. "Mostly hospitals, disaster relief, medical research. But Grace has been saying for years that we do not do enough for young people who are trapped by circumstances they did not create. She believes your story is proof." Maya shook her head. "Sir, I don't want to be on TV or anything." "You do not have to be," Richard said. "Your privacy is yours. But whether the exam board says yes or no, we want to sponsor your education." The room went silent again. Denise's hand froze around Maya's. Maya stared. "Sponsor." "Tuition," Richard said. books, transportation, college applications, mentoring, whatever you need through college. Maya stood too quickly. No, I mean, thank you, but no, that's too much. Richard looked surprised, but not offended. Maya's cheeks burned. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just don't want people saying I helped your wife so I could get money. Richard's expression softened. Maya, he said, people will always talk. They talked when I was poor. They talked when I became rich. They talked when Grace married me. They talked when we lost our first child. People will talk because it is easier than understanding. Maya had not known he had ever been poor. She had imagined him born into marble floors and private planes. Richard glanced again at Marcus Johnson's photo. I grew up in a house smaller than this one, he said. My mother cleaned offices at night. I know the kind of pride that says you must refuse help so no one can accuse you of needing it. But sometimes help is not pity. Sometimes help is justice catching up late. Denise lowered her head. Maya did not know what to say. Before she could answer, Richard's assistant stepped into the doorway. Mr. Whitmore, the director is on the line. Richard took the phone. Put it on speaker, he said. The assistant tapped the screen, and a woman's voice filled the room. Mr. Whitmore. I'm here, Richard said. I'm with Maya Johnson and her family. Good, the woman said. Miss Johnson, this is Dr. Elaine Porter, director of the Bright Futures Academic Fellowship. Maya's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Denise squeezed her hand. Hello, Maya managed. Miss Johnson, Dr. Porter said, we have reviewed the materials sent to us this morning, including the emergency response report and statements from witnesses. First, I want to say that what you did was remarkable. Maya's eyes flooded again. Thank you. Second, Dr. Porter continued, our policies allow special consideration in cases involving documented emergencies. Your case qualifies. Maya stopped breathing. Dr. Porter said, we would like to offer you a private examination session this Saturday morning at our main office. Denise cried out. Caleb jumped up. Maya, you get to take it. Maya covered her face. For 3 days, she had felt like her future had been buried. Now someone was digging it out. Dr. Porter's voice warmed. Please understand, Miss Johnson, you will still have to earn your score. No one can take the exam for you. No one can guarantee the fellowship. But you have not lost your chance. Maya wiped her face. That's all I wanted. Richard smiled for the first time. Thank you, Dr. Porter, he said. One more thing, Dr. Porter added. Miss Johnson, do not let this week shake you. Anyone who can make the choice you made under pressure has already shown the kind of character this program was built to support. The call ended. For a moment, no one moved. Then Denise pulled Maya into her arms. I'm sorry, Denise whispered. I'm so sorry, baby. I should have believed that your goodness would not ruin you. Maya clung to her mother. I thought I ruined everything, she said. No, Denise said, crying into her daughter's hair. You reminded us who you are. Caleb wrapped his arms around both of them. Richard looked away, giving them privacy. Outside, the neighborhood still waited. When the family finally stepped back onto the porch, everyone stared with open curiosity. Mrs. Turner was closest, pretending she had only been sweeping the sidewalk. Richard stood beside Maya. People of this neighborhood, he said, raising his voice enough to carry, your neighbor, Maya Johnson, saved my wife's life. She did not know who my wife was. She did not ask for money. She did not ask for recognition. She simply helped when others hesitated. Maya's face burned. Mr. Whitmore. He glanced at her. Forgive me, but sometimes the truth deserves witnesses. Mrs. Turner's mouth fell open. One of the boys on the bicycle whispered, Maya saved a billionaire's wife. Richard continued, because of her courage, my wife is alive. Because of her sacrifice, the scholarship board has granted her a new exam date. And because Grace and I believe kindness should never be punished, our foundation will support Maya's education for as long as she chooses to study." The street erupted. Some neighbors cheered, some clapped, some simply stood stunned, trying to rearrange their understanding of the quiet girl they had seen walking to the bus stop every morning before sunrise. Maya wanted to hide, but Caleb grabbed her hand and lifted it like she had won a boxing match. Denise laughed through tears. And Mrs. Turner, who had told 2 people that Maya had thrown away her future, began clapping louder than anyone. But not everyone celebrated. Across the street, Mr. Darnell, who owned the corner store and had refused Denise credit the week before, crossed his arms. "Must be nice," he muttered. "Some folks get lucky." Maya heard him. So did Richard. The billionaire turned his head. "Luck," Richard said, "is finding money on the ground. What Maya did was character. There is a difference." Mr. Darnell looked away. That evening, after Richard left and the helicopter rose back into the sky, the neighborhood remained changed. People came by with casseroles, hugs, apologies, questions, and praise. Maya accepted what she could, answered little, and retreated to her room as soon as her mother allowed. Her room was barely big enough for a bed, a desk, and a narrow dresser. The desk had been her father's. Marcus had found it broken behind an office building, repaired it, sanded it, and painted it white. Maya had studied at it for years, her elbows resting on the same place where his hands had once worked. She sat down and opened her exam prep book. The Saturday test was in 2 days. For a moment, the page blurred. She was exhausted, emotionally drained. Her life had become a story people told on porches and posted online. Caleb had already found a video of the helicopter landing, uploaded by someone with the caption, "Billionaire lands in the hood for poor girl who saved his wife." Maya hated that title. Poor girl. As though poverty was her whole name. She took out a pencil and wrote at the top of her notebook, "I am Maya Johnson." Then she added, "I did not lose my future. Then I will be ready." On Saturday morning, Denise woke before dawn to make pancakes from the last of the mix, even though she had to stretch groceries until payday. Caleb wore his best shirt, saying he needed to look professional as Maya's little brother. Mrs. Turner knocked at 6:30 with a bag of fresh fruit and a guilty smile. "For energy," she said. Maya accepted it, "Thank you." Mrs. Turner shifted her weight, and Maya, "Yes, I misjudged you." Maya said nothing. Mrs. Turner nodded as if the silence was fair. "I'm sorry." Maya looked at the older woman's face and saw embarrassment, but also sincerity. "It's okay," Maya said. "No," Mrs. Turner replied, "it is, but I'm going to do better." That mattered more than a casserole. At 7, a black car arrived. Richard had offered it, and after a long family discussion, Maya accepted. Not because she wanted luxury, but because no bus delay was going to steal this second chance. Denise rode with her. So did Caleb, who held Maya's flashcards and quizzed her all the way across town. "Define resilient," he said. Maya smiled faintly, able to recover after difficulty. Caleb grinned, "That's you." At the Bright Futures office, Dr. Elaine Porter met them personally. She was a tall woman with silver hair and sharp eyes that softened when she saw Maya. "You ready?" she asked. Maya took a breath. "Yes, ma'am." The exam room was quiet. One desk, one clock, one window showing the city skyline. Maya sat down. For a few seconds, her hands trembled. Then she remembered Grace's hand in hers. She remembered the sound of sirens. She remembered the testing center doors closing. She remembered the helicopter landing. She remembered her father saying, "Pressure doesn't make you weak, Maya. It shows you what you're made of." When Dr. Porter placed the exam in front of her, Maya picked up her pencil and began. 3 hours later, she walked out with an aching hand and a calm heart. Denise stood immediately. How was it? Maya smiled. I did my best. That was all she could say. That was all anyone could ask. The results would take a week. During that week, life did not magically become easy. The rent was still overdue. Denise still worked double shifts. Caleb still needed new shoes. The refrigerator still hummed louder than it cooled. Poverty did not disappear because a rich man had visited. But something had changed. Hope had returned to the house. Richard's foundation sent a social worker, not with cameras or reporters, but with quiet efficiency. She helped Denise apply for assistance she had not known she qualified for. She arranged temporary rent support through a community relief fund. She connected Caleb with an after-school program. She asked Maya what she needed instead of assuming. Maya said she needed time to study, a working laptop, and a bus pass. The laptop arrived in a plain box. The bus pass came with a note from Grace. No limousines, unless absolutely necessary. I have a feeling you prefer earning your own miles. Maya laughed for the first time in days. A week after the exam, Dr. Porter called. Maya was washing dishes. Denise was folding laundry. Caleb was building something out of cardboard at the kitchen table. The phone rang. Maya looked at the screen and froze. Denise saw her face. Answer it. Maya put it on speaker. Hello. Miss Johnson, Dr. Porter said. This is Elaine Porter. Maya gripped the edge of the sink. I have your results. Denise stopped folding. Caleb stopped breathing loudly, which for him was a miracle. Dr. Porter paused, and in that pause, Maya felt her entire life balance on a pin. You scored in the 98th percentile. The kitchen exploded. Denise screamed. Caleb jumped out of his chair so fast it tipped over. Maya dropped the dish towel and started crying before she could speak. Dr. Porter laughed gently. I take it you heard me. I did, Maya said through tears. That score qualifies you for the fellowship, Dr. Porter said. Full academic support, college preparation, summer programs, mentorship, and if you maintain the program requirements, scholarship pathways for university. Maya pressed her hand over her heart. She thought of the road, the smoke, the woman reaching for her. She thought of every night she had studied under a flickering kitchen light. She thought of her father. I got it, she whispered. Denise held her face in both hands. You got it. Caleb shouted out the open window. My sister got the fellowship. Within 10 minutes, the whole neighborhood knew. This time, Maya did not hide. She stepped outside and let people hug her. She let Mrs. Turner cry. She let the boys on bicycles ask if she was famous. She even accepted a free soda from Mr. Darnell, who mumbled, "Congratulations," without meeting her eyes. But the person she most wanted to see was Grace. 2 days later, Richard arranged a visit at Whitmore Medical Center. Maya wore the nicest outfit she owned, a navy dress Denise had found at a thrift store and altered by hand. Caleb insisted she take the yellow star keychain for luck, though Maya told him it had never left her backpack. Whitmore Medical Center was unlike any hospital Maya had ever entered. The floors shone, the walls held soft artwork, the nurses moved with quiet purpose, but beneath all the polish, it still smelled like antiseptic and worry. Rich people, Maya realized, could make hospitals prettier, but they could not buy a world without fear. Richard met them outside Grace's room. She's been waiting all morning, he said. Is she okay? Maya asked. She's healing, Richard said, slowly, but she is herself again, which means she is impatient, stubborn, and giving medical opinions nobody requested. From inside the room, a woman's voice called, I heard that. Richard smiled. He opened the door. Grace Whitmore sat propped against pillows, pale but bright-eyed, with a blanket over her legs and flowers covering nearly every surface. She looked different from the woman Maya remembered from the accident. Less fragile now, more present. Her hair was brushed back. A small bandage marked her forehead. Her smile trembled when she saw Maya. "There you are," Grace whispered. Maya stood frozen in the doorway. Grace held out a hand. Maya crossed the room slowly and took it. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Grace began to cry. "I know people keep thanking you," Grace said, "but no one can thank you enough for making sure I did not wake up in that car alone." Maya's own tears came quickly. "I was scared." "So was I," Grace said, "but I remember thinking, this girl is scared and staying anyway." Maya sat beside the bed. Grace studied her face. "Richard told me you passed the exam." Maya smiled. "I did. I knew you would. You didn't even know me." Grace squeezed her hand. "I knew enough." Richard stood by the window, watching them with quiet gratitude. Grace reached for a small box on the bedside table. "I have something for you," she said. Maya stiffened. "Mrs. Whitmore." "Grace," she corrected. "Grace, you don't have to give me anything." "I know," Grace said. "That is why I want to." She opened the box. Inside was a simple silver bracelet with a tiny star charm. Maya stared. "It reminded me of your keychain," Grace said. "Richard told me about it, about your father." Maya touched the yellow star hanging from her backpack. Grace's voice softened. "This is not payment, it is a promise. A promise that when your road gets hard, you will remember that one act of courage can change more than you can see." Maya lifted the bracelet carefully. On the inside, tiny words were engraved. "Stay anyway." Maya's throat tightened. "That's what you did for me," Grace said. "You stayed anyway." Maya put the bracelet on. It fit perfectly. Months passed. The world tried to turn Maya into a headline, but she resisted. A few reporters came to the neighborhood. Richard's team kept them away when they became too aggressive. Grace asked Maya before ever mentioning her in public. Maya agreed to one interview only after Dr. Porter suggested it might inspire other students, and even then, she refused to let the story become about luck or charity. The interviewer asked, "Do you feel like saving Grace Whitmore saved you?" Maya thought carefully. "No," she said. "I think kindness opened a door, but I still had to walk through it. I still had to study. My mom still had to work. My brother still had to believe in me on days I didn't. Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore helped me, and I'm grateful, but they didn't make me valuable. I already was." That quote spread farther than anything else. In school, some students treated her differently. A few admired her. A few envied her. Some whispered that she only got the fellowship because Richard Whitmore paid for it. Maya heard them. At first, it hurt. Then Dr. Porter showed her the score report again. 98th percentile, Dr. Porter said. "Let them whisper, numbers don't gossip." Maya laughed. The Bright Futures Fellowship changed her days. She attended advanced classes on Saturdays, received tutoring in math and writing, visited colleges, and learned how to speak in rooms where people used words like legacy admissions and endowment, as if everyone grew up knowing them. At first, she felt out of place. The other students had parents who were lawyers, engineers, professors, executives. They had traveled abroad. They had private tutors. One girl complained that her family's beach house had bad Wi-Fi. Maya did not even have her own bedroom door that closed properly. During the first seminar, a boy named Tyler asked, "So are you the helicopter girl?" Maya looked at him. "I'm Maya." He turned red. "I didn't mean." "I know what you meant," she said, "but I'm Maya." After that, the name stuck for the right reason. Maya. Not poor student. Not charity case. Not helicopter girl. Maya. Grace recovered slowly. She had physical therapy, follow-up appointments, and days when pain made her quiet. But she also had determination. She and Maya began meeting once a month for lunch. sometimes at the Whitmore house, sometimes at a small cafe near Maya's fellowship building, because Grace said fancy restaurants made honest conversation harder. Their friendship surprised people. It surprised Maya most of all. Grace was wealthy, yes, but she was not shallow. She had grown up middle class in Ohio, had been a school counselor before marrying Richard, and still had the habit of asking questions that made people tell the truth. "What are you afraid of?" Grace asked Maya one afternoon. They sat in the cafe by the window. Rain streaked the glass. Maya stirred her hot chocolate, failing. "At what?" "Everything." Grace waited. Maya sighed. "It feels like everyone has turned me into a symbol. My mom thinks I'm going to save us. Caleb thinks I can do anything. The neighborhood thinks I'm proof that good things happen. The fellowship thinks I'm inspiring. You and Mr. Whitmore think I'm—" She searched for the word. "Extraordinary," Grace offered. Maya looked down. "What if I'm just tired?" Grace reached across the table. "Then be tired. Being tired does not make you unworthy." Maya blinked. No one had said that before. Grace continued, "People love stories where poor girls become heroes overnight, but real life is not overnight. Real life is waking up the next morning and still needing breakfast, bus fare, clean socks, and courage." Maya laughed softly. "You are allowed to be a person," Grace said, "not just a lesson." That conversation stayed with Maya longer than any speech. At home, things improved in small, steady ways. Richard's foundation did not buy them a mansion, though tabloids claimed it did. Instead, Denise accepted financial counseling and enrolled in a certification program to become a licensed practical nurse. It meant more studying at the kitchen table, this time beside Maya. Caleb joined a robotics club and began filling the house with wires, cardboard, and wild inventions that usually moved once before falling apart. The rent got paid. The refrigerator was replaced. The electricity stayed on. Those things were miracles too, quiet ones. One evening, Maya found her mother asleep over a nursing textbook. Her reading glasses had slipped down her nose. A highlighter rested in her hand. Maya gently took the highlighter and marked the line where Denise had stopped. Denise woke. "I'm studying." "You were snoring." "I was thinking with my eyes closed." Maya smiled. Denise looked at her daughter for a long moment. "I should have trusted you that day." Maya's smile faded. "Mom." "No, let me say it." Denise sat up. "When you missed that exam, all I could see was the door closing. I forgot that I raised you to stop when someone needed help. I was angry at the cost of your kindness, but I should have been proud of the kindness itself." Maya sat beside her. "I was angry too," Maya admitted. "Not at Grace, just at the world, at how one choice could cost so much." Denise nodded. "Being poor makes every choice heavier." Maya leaned against her mother. "I don't want to be afraid of doing the right thing." "Then don't be," Denise said. "But also remember, doing right doesn't mean carrying the whole world alone. Let people carry you sometimes." Maya thought of Richard's envelope, Grace's bracelet, Dr. Porter's call, and Mrs. Turner's apology. Maybe that was redemption, not a sudden rescue, but a circle of hands reaching back after one hand reached first. A year later, Maya stood on a stage in the city auditorium as one of the top students in the Bright Futures Fellowship. She wore a white dress under her graduation robe and the silver bracelet Grace had given her. Denise sat in the front row with Caleb, who held a handmade sign that said Maya Johnson. Still my sister, even THOUGH, she's famous. Richard and Grace sat beside them. Grace looked healthy now. There were still traces of the accident in the careful way she moved, but her smile was strong. Dr. Porter stepped to the microphone. "Our next speaker," she said, "is a student whose story many of you know, but today I ask you to listen beyond the headline. Do not hear only that she missed an exam. Hear why. Do not hear only that a helicopter landed. Hear what it took for her to still stand here after disappointment, judgment, and uncertainty. Please welcome Maya Johnson." Applause filled the auditorium. Maya walked to the microphone. For a moment, the lights blinded her. Then she saw her family. She saw Grace. She saw Richard. She saw herself, not as a poor student from a forgotten neighborhood, but as a young woman who had been tested long before she entered any exam room. She unfolded her speech. "My name is Maya Johnson," she began. "For a while, strangers called me the girl who missed her exam. Some called me the girl who saved a billionaire's wife. Some called me lucky. Some called me foolish." The room grew quiet. But before any of that, I was a daughter, a sister, a student, and a person trying to believe that my future was bigger than my circumstances. Denise wiped her eyes. Maya continued, "On the morning of my exam, I thought success meant getting to the testing center on time. I thought my whole life depended on opening one door. Then I saw someone whose life depended on me stopping. I wish I could say the choice was easy. It was. I was afraid. I knew what I might lose. I knew what that exam meant. But I also knew that if I walked away, I would carry that choice longer than I would carry any test score." Grace pressed a tissue to her lips. "So I stayed," Maya said. "And yes, I missed the exam. I went home thinking kindness had cost me everything, but I learned something important. Doing the right thing may cost you, but it should not be allowed to destroy you. That is where community comes in. That is where justice comes in. That is where people with power must notice people without it." Richard bowed his head. Maya looked across the audience. "I am grateful to the Whitmores. I am grateful to Dr. Porter. I am grateful to my mother, who taught me compassion even when life gave her every reason to become hard. But I also want to say this. There are many students like me who do not get helicopters. They miss chances because buses are late, because they care for siblings, because they work after school, because emergencies happen and policies do not bend. They are not lazy. They are not careless. They are carrying more than you can see." The applause began softly, then grew. Maya waited. "If my story means anything," she said, "let it mean this. Kindness should not be rare, and opportunity should not depend on being noticed by someone rich. We can build a world where doing the right thing does not ruin a person's future." By the time she finished, the audience was standing. Denise cried openly. Caleb shouted, "That's my sister." People laughed, and Maya laughed too. After the ceremony, Richard approached her with a thoughtful expression. "You gave me homework," he said. Maya raised an eyebrow. "Billionaires do homework. The smart ones do." Grace slipped her arm through his. "Tell her." Richard looked almost nervous. "Grace and I want to expand the foundation. Emergency academic relief for students, missed exams, sudden crises, family emergencies, transportation barriers, legal support when needed, advocacy with schools and testing boards." Maya stared at him. Grace smiled. "We want to call it the Stay Anyway Fund." Maya touched her bracelet. Richard said, "Only with your permission." Maya looked at her mother, then at the students around her, laughing, taking photos, stepping into futures that still felt fragile but possible. "Yes," she said, "but only if it helps students no one is filming." Richard nodded, "Especially them." The fund launched 6 months later. It began in their city, then spread across the state. Students could apply for emergency support when life interrupted opportunity. A mother in Detroit got childcare so she could take her nursing boards. A high school senior in Atlanta received transportation after a flood blocked his bus route. A student in Phoenix who missed a scholarship interview because she helped her grandmother during a medical emergency was granted a new interview. Maya read some of the letters. One line appeared again and again. "I thought nobody would believe me." Maya understood that ache. She had lived it. By the time college acceptance season arrived, Maya had become both more confident and more careful with her dreams. She applied to several universities, including one she barely dared to say aloud, Columbia University in New York City. When the decision email came, she refused to open it alone. Denise, Caleb, Grace, and Richard gathered in the Johnsons' living room. Mrs. Turner stood by the door, invited because she had become, as Caleb put it, too emotionally invested to leave outside. Dr. Porter joined on video call. Maya sat at her father's repaired desk, the laptop open before her. Her hand hovered over the trackpad. "I might not get in," she said. Denise kissed the top of her head. "Then we will still love you." Caleb said, "But you probably got in because you're annoyingly smart." Grace laughed. Richard crossed his arms. "Open it before Caleb starts giving admissions advice." Maya clicked. The page loaded. For one terrible second, she could not read anything. Then the first word came into focus. "Congratulations." Maya screamed. Denise screamed louder. Caleb ran in circles. Mrs. Turner shouted, "I knew it," though she had said 10 minutes earlier that Ivy League schools were unpredictable. Grace hugged Richard, and Richard wiped his eyes like he hoped nobody noticed. Maya read the letter again and again. Accepted. Full financial aid, combined with scholarship support. New York. College. A future so big it scared her. That night, after everyone left and Caleb finally fell asleep, Maya sat on the porch alone. The neighborhood was quiet. The empty lot across the street looked ordinary again, just dirt, weeds, and moonlight. It was hard to believe a helicopter had once landed there and split her life into before and after. Denise came outside and sat beside her. "You thinking about your dad?" she asked. Maya nodded. "He would have lifted you off the ground," Denise said, "spun you around until you yelled at him to stop." Maya smiled through tears. "Then he would have told everyone at work. Everyone at work, everyone at the gas station, everyone in line at the grocery store." They laughed softly. Maya looked at the sky. "I used to think leaving meant winning," she said. "Like if I got out, I proved something." Denise nodded. "And now?" "Now I think coming back matters too." Denise put an arm around her. "You can do both." Maya leaned into her mother. Across the street, the empty lot waited. 2 months before Maya left for college, the city announced plans to turn that lot into a community learning center funded by the Whitmore Foundation and local partners. Not a flashy building with a rich person's name on it, but a practical place with tutoring rooms, computers, college advising, emergency grants, and a small health clinic. The name on the front would be simple: the Marcus Johnson Community Center. When Richard suggested it, Maya cried so hard she had to leave the room. Denise approved through tears. Caleb asked if the robotics lab could be named after him. "Maybe if your robots stop catching on fire," Maya said. "They spark," Caleb argued. "That's different." The groundbreaking ceremony happened on a warm Saturday morning. The same neighbors who had once stood stunned by the helicopter now gathered with folding chairs and paper fans. The mayor came. Dr. Porter spoke. Grace stood beside Maya, fully recovered now, her hand resting lightly on Maya's shoulder. Richard took the podium. "People often ask why my wife and I care so much about this neighborhood," he said. "The answer is simple, because when Grace needed help, this neighborhood had already produced the person brave enough to give it." Maya looked down, overwhelmed. Richard continued, "This center is named for Marcus Johnson, a father who taught his daughter to carry light into dark places. We honor him by making sure more young people have somewhere to bring their dreams before the world tells them those dreams are too heavy." When it was Maya's turn to speak, she stood before the microphone and looked at the lot. She remembered the helicopter. She remembered Richard stepping out. She remembered thinking that the sky itself had come to accuse or rescue her. Now there were shovels in the dirt, blueprints on a table, and children sitting cross-legged in the front row, watching her like she was proof. "My dad used to fix cars," Maya said. "He believed almost anything broken could run again if somebody cared enough to look closely. I think people are like that too, communities too. Sometimes what looks forgotten is not empty, It is waiting for repair. The crowd listened. This center will not solve everything, she said. No building can, but it will be a place where a student can get help before a dream falls apart. A place where a missed bus, a broken laptop, an unpaid fee, or an emergency does not get the final word. She paused. And I hope it reminds us that help should not have to fall from the sky. It should be built right here on the ground. That line made the evening news. This time, Maya did not mind. In August, Maya packed for college. Her suitcase was second-hand but sturdy. Grace had offered to buy a full designer luggage set. Maya refused. Grace compromised by buying her a winter coat because New York does not care about pride when the wind starts biting. Denise packed snacks. Caleb hid a tiny robot made of bottle caps in Maya's bag for protection. Mrs. Turner brought a quilt stitched by women from the neighborhood. On Maya's last night home, she walked through the house slowly. The kitchen, where she had studied. The living room, where Richard had read Grace's letter. The porch, where she had once sat, believing her future was gone. Her bedroom, with the repaired desk, the exam prep books, the acceptance letter taped above the bed, and her father's photo watching over everything. Denise found her there. "You ready?" she asked. "No," Maya said, "but I'm going." Denise smiled. That's usually how ready feels. The next morning, Richard offered to fly them to New York. Maya said no. "I want to take the train," she said. "I want to see the distance." So they did. Denise, Caleb, Grace, and Richard came with her to the station. Dr. Porter sent a message. Mrs. Turner packed too many sandwiches. The neighborhood kids made a poster that said "Come back smarter but not too fancy." At the platform, Caleb tried to act brave and failed immediately. "Don't forget us," he said, hugging Maya tight. Maya knelt in front of him. "Impossible. You'll call. All the time. You'll help me with my robot application." "Yes. You'll become rich." Maya laughed. "I'll become educated first." Grace hugged her next. "Remember," Grace said, "you are allowed to be a person." Maya nodded. "Not just a lesson." Richard shook her hand, then pulled her into an awkward but sincere hug. "You changed my life," he said. Maya smiled. "Technically, Grace changed mine." Grace pointed at both of them. "I'll take credit for everything good." Denise was last. Mother and daughter stood facing each other as the train rumbled into the station. "I don't know how to let you go," Denise whispered. Maya's eyes filled. "You're not letting me go, you're sending me forward." Denise held her tightly. "Then go forward, baby." Maya boarded the train with her worn backpack, the yellow star keychain, and the silver bracelet on her wrist. As the train pulled away, she looked through the window at the people who had carried her. Caleb waved both arms. Denise pressed a hand to her heart. Grace leaned against Richard, smiling through tears. The city blurred. The tracks stretched ahead. College was not easy. Maya struggled at first, not because she was not smart enough, but because intelligence did not erase culture shock. Her classmates discussed summer internships in Europe. Some had parents who called professors by first names. Some treated stress like a temporary inconvenience, not a familiar language. Maya worked hard. Too hard sometimes. During her first semester, she nearly burned out trying to prove she belonged. She joined study groups, visited office hours, worked part-time at the campus library, volunteered with an emergency student aid organization, and still called home to help Caleb with homework. One cold November night, she sat alone in the library, staring at a paper she could not finish. Snow tapped against the windows. Her chest felt tight with exhaustion. Her phone buzzed. A message from Grace. "Are you being a person or a symbol today?" Maya stared at it, then laughed quietly. She typed back, "A very tired symbol." Grace replied, "Go eat, sleep, Symbols have terrible health habits. Maya closed the laptop. She got soup from the dining hall, went back to her dorm, and slept for 8 hours. The next morning, the paper made more sense. By spring, Maya found her rhythm. She majored in public policy with a focus on education access. She wanted to understand the systems that had almost shut her out. She wanted to learn how rules were written, who they protected, and how they could be changed. She worked with professors on research about emergency barriers facing low-income students. She spoke at conferences. She returned home during breaks to mentor students at the Marcus Johnson Community Center. The first time she walked into the completed center, she stopped at the entrance and cried. The building was bright, but not intimidating. Children used computers in one room. A counselor helped a mother fill out financial aid forms in another. A high school student practiced interview questions with a volunteer. Caleb's robotics club had taken over a corner where a sign read "Sparking is not the same as fire." On the wall near the entrance was a photo of Marcus Johnson. Below it were his words, the ones Maya had repeated from memory. "Carry your own little piece of light." Maya touched the wall. "Hey Dad," she whispered, "we built something." Years later, people would still tell the story of the poor student who missed her exam to help a billionaire's wife, and how a helicopter landed at her home. Some versions made it sound like a fairy tale. Some exaggerated the poverty, the helicopter, the billionaire, the reward. Some forgot the exam. Some forgot Grace's fear. Some forgot Denise's apology, Dr. Porter's fairness, Richard's humility, and the long months of work after the miracle. But Maya never forgot. She knew the truth. The helicopter was dramatic, but it was not the rescue. The money helped, but it was not the miracle. The miracle was that one act of kindness forced powerful people to look closely at a life they might otherwise never have seen. The miracle was that a missed exam became a question. How many futures are lost not because students lack talent, but because life blocks the door? The miracle was that Maya did not let the world rename her. Years after that terrible morning, Maya stood once again in the neighborhood where she had grown up. She was no longer the frightened girl on the porch. She had graduated from Columbia, completed law school, and become an advocate for education equity. The Stay Anyway Fund had helped thousands of students across the country. The Marcus Johnson Community Center had expanded twice. Grace and Richard were older now, still involved, still arguing affectionately over every project. Denise had become a nurse. Caleb was studying engineering and still insisting that sparks were signs of creativity. A group of students gathered in the center's auditorium to hear Maya speak. One girl in the front row clutched a worn backpack. Maya noticed immediately. After the speech, the girl approached her. "My name is Elena," she said. "I missed a scholarship interview last month because my little brother had an asthma attack. I thought nobody would care, but the fund helped me get another interview." Maya smiled gently. "How did it go?" Elena's face lit up. "I got it." Maya felt the old ache and the old joy rise together. "I'm proud of you," she said. Elena looked down. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever wish you had just gone to your exam that day?" Maya looked through the auditorium windows at the empty lot that was no longer empty, at the building that stood where the helicopter had landed, at children laughing near the entrance beneath her father's words. She thought of Grace's hand, the closed doors, the second chance, the thousands of students who had found help because one story had refused to end in silence. "No," Maya said, "I wish the world had made the choice cost less, but I don't regret stopping." Elena nodded slowly. Maya touched the silver bracelet on her wrist. "Stay anyway." That evening, after the students left, Maya walked outside alone. The sun was setting, turning the sky gold. For a moment, she could almost see her younger self sitting on the porch across the street, convinced she had destroyed her future. Maya wished she could sit beside that girl. She would tell her, You are not foolish. You are not finished. You are not only poor. You are not only a student. You are Maya Johnson. And one day, what felt like an ending will become a beginning large enough to hold more people than you can imagine. Across the street, Denise stepped onto the porch of the little blue house, now freshly painted, no longer faded by neglect. Caleb's laughter came from inside. Grace and Richard arrived in a simple car because Grace had long ago declared that helicopters were for emergencies and overly dramatic husbands. Maya laughed when she saw them. Grace hugged her. Big day. Big day, Maya said. Richard looked at the community center. Your father would be proud. Maya looked at the glowing windows, the students still inside, the staff cleaning up, the lights staying on for evening tutoring. For a long time, she said, I thought I had to escape this place to prove I mattered. Denise joined them, slipping an arm around her daughter. And now, Grace asked. Maya smiled. Now I know I mattered before I ever left. Above them, the sky was quiet. No helicopter. No thunder. No crowd staring. Just home. And a future that had once seemed ruined, now unfolding wider than the road that tried to stop her.